Hello and welcome to the programme.
Coming up tonight, Storm Gerretti brings a slippery start to the morning commute as carers battle the elements to reach those who need them.
A Yorkshire campaigner whose husband ended his life at a Swiss clinic says politicians are sabotaging a right to die law here.
How people are using AI and not their GP for advice on taking weight loss jabs with potentially dangerous results.
And it takes some backbone. We meet the Huddersfield woman gearing up for Britain's most brutal run, the notorious spine race.
But we start with the communities which woke up this morning to the effects of Storm Gerretti.
Its reach wasn't perhaps as wide as many had anticipated, but in some parts the impact was significant, with dozens of school closures and dangerous conditions on the roads.
For vulnerable people and those living on the streets, an extra helping hand to see them through the cold was vital. Adam Fowler started the day in Sheffield's rush hour.
A near miss on a snow-covered Abbey Lane in Sheffield as this silver car skids towards an oncoming taxi. Luckily, a crash was narrowly avoided. With heavy snow from around 8 p.m. last night in Sheffield and an amber warning for South Yorkshire, hazardous conditions continued into today. This was the scene on 20 Well Lane during the morning commute. The road blocked by stranded vehicles, one having mounted the curb and hit a lamppost. Elsewhere, this was Bank End Road at Goldcar near Huddersfield, with several cars damaged in the icy conditions and at least 2 overturned. It may have looked picturesque across the Woodhead Pass, but it remained closed throughout the rush hour, closing off a vital link from Sheffield to Manchester. Trains were cancelled between Manchester and Sheffield, and many schools too were closed.
Of course, it's at times like this that the most vulnerable members of society can be hardest hit. That's why it's more important than ever that they have the facilities they need to keep them safe.
As recently as last week, Kieran Hart was sleeping on the streets and knows all too well how perilous it can be.
I could have froze to death, do you know what I'm saying? And some of these nights they get colder and colder. It's definitely not for the weak-hearted, man, definitely not.
At the Archer Project in Sheffield, the homeless can find warm space, appropriate clothes and hot food.
The number of street deaths is reported every year, and some of those are going to be winter deaths down to people not surviving the elements. We have to think as well that actually people who are street homeless are normally physically not very well. So we're taking two things together, a deteriorating health and a climate that isn't really very helpful.
But for all the chaos it caused, some happy childhood memories were made too, with these families in Ferguland in Barnsley seizing the rare opportunity for winter sports.
Steady!
Adam Fowler, ITV News.
Yes, good to see some people enjoying themselves. Well, moving out of Sheffield and down into the Peak District, and the Arctic conditions were pretty much the same.
But in the isolated villages and hamlets there, it was much easier to become cut off from the support networks vulnerable people rely on.
Ben Bason spent the day with care workers who battled the elements to get help to where it was needed.
Friday morning and a blanket of white covers the Hope Valley. But for this rural area, the beauty and tranquility of snowfall comes with real dangers, and some have no option but to brave the roads. Every day, no matter the weather, care workers tend to the elderly and vulnerable in the Peak District. And on days like today, it's more important than ever.
Hi, Marjorie. Are you okay?
96-year-old Marjorie has carers visit her 4 times a day to help her with things like medication, food and washing.
That's your medication for you.
I get to know them quite well, and we can have a laugh, and that it's a lovely sort of situation.
Obviously it's very cold today, lots of snow about. Your carers always make the effort to manage to get here, don't they?
Yes, I must admit, watching television and seeing all the snow, I thought, oh, they're going to have difficulty getting here today. I knew they would make it somehow.
Well, these rural communities in the Peak District are some of the hardest hit by this snowfall, and these carers have had to battle through quite treacherous conditions on the roads to provide a vital lifeline for those people who might otherwise be completely cut off.
We look after a lot of people in some really remote areas, and it's really, really important that we get to everybody. A lot of our carers walk instead of driving, or they can't get the cars out. They'll literally walk, and we've had them walk, up to 2 miles in deep snow to get to people, because they've got to have the medication, they've got to have something to eat.
And who are we going to see now?
We're going to see Joyce. Joyce, we've been looking after for several weeks now. She, very independent lady in her 90s, but had a fall, broke her hip. Hi, Joyce.
Hello.
Are you all right, my love?
Yes, thank
Cool, it's cold out there.
They're exceedingly good, and I can't say enough about them, how good they've been. I'm quite surprised that they get here, to be quite honest. It's very important, and particularly for people with no family, they need the help and support they can get.
The dozens of care workers who cover this area think nothing of their huge efforts to reach those in need. For them, they have no option but to battle through the snow to provide a lifeline for the most vulnerable in our communities. Ben Mason, ITV News in the Hope Valley.
Yes, take care if you're out and about. Now that you're watching Friday's calendar, and still to come tonight, Flying Squad. Find out why our feathered friend here got its own police escort as it went for a waddle in Leeds.
And after Storm Gerretti, the cold hangs on into the start of the weekend. But here's a big hint that there's a big weather change on the way. I'll have your weekend forecast later in the programme.
On to other news now, and controversial new parking charges that will see motorists pay almost double to park in some parts of Bradford will be introduced later this month. The changes, which will come in from the 19th of January, will see the cost of parking on some Bradford streets rise from £1 to £2 an hour. Bradford Council says the changes will improve the customer experience.
Strikes over safety concerns are expected to disrupt Leeds Council passenger transport services, including for children and adults with special needs, over the next 2 months. The Unite Union says the main issues are a lack of vital equipment for drivers, such as restraints, inadequate first aid and no risk assessments. Leeds City Council says it takes all concerns seriously and has undertaken a number of measures to address these.
More than £4.2 million in unpaid business rates are owed by a major international steel manufacturer, with millions already written off as irrecoverable, Rotherham Council has confirmed. Speciality Steels UK, part of the Liberty Steel Group, with bases in Rotherham and Stocksbridge, fell under government control in 2025 after owing millions of pounds to creditors.
The people have spoken. That's the message to politicians from a North Yorkshire woman who's determined to see assisted dying legalised in England.
Louise Shackleton's husband Anthony, who had motor neurone disease, chose to end his life at the Dignitas clinic in Switzerland in 2024. New legislation, which would allow it to happen here, is currently passing through Parliament.
Opponents are worried about the ethical and practical implications a law change would bring. And Louise says some of those in power are dragging their heels so that the bill will fail. Chris Conway has the story.
If this had have happened here, he would have had his family. People would have had the choice whether they wanted to be with him, in his dying hours.
Louise Shackleton's husband Anthony ended his life at Dignitas in Switzerland after years living with motor neurone disease. She visits his grave most days, but today, for the first time, Louise has allowed our cameras to accompany her.
All right, my love.
The couple felt they had no option but keep their trip to Dignitas from their children because helping someone to die in England is illegal.
We had to lie to their faces and tell them that we were going on holiday. We've been robbed. His grandchildren have been robbed. His grandson Aubrey will never know him. Will never know him. And Sorry.
Since Anthony's death, Louise has continued to campaign for assisted dying to be legalised in the UK. Legislation, which has to be passed by springtime, is now being scrutinised in the House of Lords. But members of the Lords have proposed more than 1,000 amendments, which Louise fears could cause it to fall.
Out of those amendments, as a safeguarding specialist, I can see about 92 that are actually around safeguarding and around legalities around that. A lot of them are to try and talk the bill out of time frame, and if that happens, the bill will die. It will have an assisted death at the hands of the Lords.
What is your message to the Lords?
We're a country built on democracy, and the people have spoken.
Some critics of the bill argue better care would remove the need for assisted dying.
We're talking, of the order of 30,000 assisted deaths a year. That's going to cost the NHS a huge amount of money, probably in the order of 150 million. And then you've got all the training of the healthcare staff that will be needed. Is this really something we should be prioritising as a country at the moment? I would argue that it's not. We should be prioritising providing good end-of-life care, looking after people who are vulnerable, and making sure that everyone at the end of their life has the care they need.
I get people are against it, and absolutely, I totally respect that. I've just been through a process with my friend of 20 years, Ed, and she died the week before Christmas. And I must say, in our area, her palliative care she received was amazing, but the drugs didn't work. It was heartbreaking to watch.
Louise is determined to continue fighting for change because it was her husband's dying wish.
We will still continue fighting, as the public will continue fighting, because this is a choice. It should be a choice. You don't have to take that choice.
A choice Louise hopes families like hers will never have to make. Chris Conway, ITV News in North Yorkshire.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Charlene White.
Coming up in the ITV Evening News, Storm Gerretti's disruption, trees toppled, tens of thousands lose power, the sting of the powerful winds which battered Britain. Travel and school disruption too, as snow blew in and blanketed parts of the country. The TikToker jailed for 9 years after causing a crash that killed a grandmother. And the Princess of Wales reflects on her cancer journey as she celebrates her birthday. All that and more from 6:30.
Thanks, Charlene. See you shortly. Now, the next two concerns that people aren't getting the proper advice when it comes to weight loss jabs, with potentially dangerous consequences.
While the injections can be very effective, those planning to use them should seek professional guidance first, like from their GP.
Worryingly, 1 in 10 people admit to using AI to do their research, which doctors warn could provide false information. James Webster has more.
New year for some is time for a fresh start. 2 years ago, that was John Park, who then weighed almost 19 stone. After previous unsuccessful attempts to lose weight, he knew something had to change.
It's important that you get professional backup. There's lots on social media, either positive or negative. Lots of negative stuff on social media. It gives you the answers you want to hear, and so does AI.
Since then, with weight loss injections, he's gone from 120 kilos to 93. His waist size down from 42 inches to 34.
Eat less and exercise more. Well, that's very easy to say, but it's not that easy to do. And what that drug does is shuts the food noise off in your head. And I was realising that I didn't need to eat. I wasn't comfort eating. When I was at meal times, my portion sizes were getting smaller and I was feeling full quicker. As you can see, it's a bit big.
He sought doctors' advice on whether weight loss medications might work for him, but there are concerns too many people don't. It's estimated 60% of people in the UK are currently classed as overweight or obese. 34% of people admit finding information about weight loss treatments on social media. 27% ask family and friends. Only 21% found more information on the NHS website, and 10% used AI tools tools like ChatGPT.
When we looked at those people who were primarily getting their information from social media, what we also found, which was concerning, was that these were the types of people that felt like getting these medications without a prescription was safe. These medications are obesity treatment. They're highly effective, but you need support with that.
And seeking medical guidance before starting treatment should be the first step, according to this GP from Middlewood Medical Centre in Sheffield.
When you come and see your GP, we look at the full picture. So we can look at your medical history, your mental health history, any drugs you've taken, past and present as well, and make sure that this is fully safe for you and something that will work. The problem comes in is when you use AI or when you use social media only, is they can't really have access to all that information. So there's no personalisation of the decisions that are made, and they can't make sure that it's really safe for you.
John starts this year satisfied with the progress he's made, but keen to help other people choose the most responsible way to begin their own weight loss journey. James Webster, ITV News.
Well, it's Friday, so Arif is here with the sport. What have you got for us this evening, Arif?
Well, it's a busy one this weekend, Sally. It's the third round of the FA Cup, and one of our boxers will look to become a world champion.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
But first, we start with the touching tribute from sports presenter Gabby Logan to her father, Terry Yorith, who passed away on Wednesday night. Terry made his name playing for Leeds United before going on to manage the likes of Bradford City, Sheffield Wednesday and his home nation of Wales. On a post on Instagram, Gabby said her dad was a warrior on the pitch and a kind-hearted and generous man off it. She went on to thank him for being a relentless tease with a wicked sense of humour.
I know that one of Terry's former teams will be hoping to cause a bit of a stir in the FA Cup this weekend.
Yeah, they certainly will, Ian. Sheffield Wednesday, who are bottom of the Championship, take on a Brentford side who are flying high in the Premier League in the third round. But Wednesday's preparations have been severely hampered this week due to the bad weather. Frozen grass pitches have forced them to train on AstroTurf, but their insurance policy doesn't allow them to train on that kind of surface.
The senior players can only make warming up and make a past exercise. They cannot make any games artificial. So it was a small group we had in the training yesterday, and today we have trained in the stadium, so we could come on grass as preparation for the Brentford game.
Now the region could have a new world champion this weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. As big Sheffield Wednesday fan, actually, Dalton Smith, who we'll just see there, well, he hopes to realise his childhood dream this weekend when he takes on Subriel Mateus for the WBC Super Lightweight title. The Puerto Rican champion failed a drugs test over Christmas, but has controversially been allowed to defend his title. I caught up with Dalton before he flew out to New York for the fight.
And the new British Super Lightweight champion!
He's the fighter from the Steel City with a stainless record.
The new unified British and Commonwealth Super Lightweight champion!
Dalton Smith has walked through all 18 of his previous fights with ease.
Your winner and the new...
Having cleaned up the British, Commonwealth and European titles, there's just one belt missing from his collection. Tomorrow night, he'll look to complete the set and be crowned world champion.
I said from the start I want to do it the traditional way. You know, English title, Commonwealth, European, world, pick the internationals up as well. I've done that, I've done it the right way, I've fought who I've needed to fight, never avoided anyone, and now we're here, ready for the big, you know, the world title.
What would it mean to win?
To win the world title for me it's everything I've worked hard for from a young boy. You know, all the sacrifices. It's not just been 10 weeks, it's been, what, 20 odd years.
The fight with Subriel Mateus was in doubt over Christmas when the Puerto Rican fighter failed a drugs test. But the governing body, the WBC, have allowed the fight to go ahead. They've deemed the performance-enhancing drugs found in his system to be low.
It makes the fight that much special, you know, to go in there and do it in style when everything's been against you. You know, I think that's the best way to do it. So, you know, we block all the noise out. You know, clean hearts always win. I'm going to go in there as a clean fighter, and I'm going to prove to the world I'll be a world champion doing it the right way.
Do you think he should be allowed to fight?
Of course, it stinks that it's allowed in boxing and people get away with it, but I'm going to go out there, do it in style, become a world champion, and then, then I'll voice my opinions.
Dalton's career has been a family affair. His dad Grant has been in his corner his whole life. Now this father and son duo are 12 rounds away from reaching the pinnacle of the sport.
A lot of people said we'd never get to this point from many years. Oh, we're not good enough, they're not going to do it, he don't know boxing, and we're ready to go and prove all the haters wrong.
The fight with Matthias will take place in New York, so whilst many of us are asleep here, Dalton Smith hopes to achieve his childhood dream in the city that never sleeps. Well, Dalton will look to follow in the footsteps of fellow Sheffield fighters Kell Brook, Johnny Nelson and Prince Nassim Hamed by becoming a world champion. And all three, of course, are products of the Ingle Gym. And you can see the inside real story of how legendary trainer Brendan Ingle produced so many great boxers by watching an excellent documentary by Chris Docks. Fight Club is available to watch now on YouTube and ITVX. And it's very much worth a watch. It's a brilliant documentary.
Chris has really raided the ITV archives, the calendar archives.
To see the likes of Naz when he was a little kid, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, in the ring. You just knew then he was going to be something special.
It's a really good watch, definitely. I think Chris is probably having a lie down in a darkened room after the exciting week he's had.
He's had a brilliant week, hasn't he? Down
in
meeting Naz as well and Piers Brosnan. Make sure with the stars.
Not bad work, is it?
Now, maybe.
Thanks very much indeed for now, Harry.
Now, if you're still struggling to get over the festive excesses of Christmas and planning a weekend in a warm house watching the telly, then spare a thought for the spine runners.
Yes, these brave souls will be out in the wind, sleet and snow this weekend, taking part in one of the world's toughest endurance events, the Spine Race.
It's called that because it's run along the spine of England, the Pennine Way. And Fraser Maud's been to meet one of the smallest but toughest competitors who will be taking part.
Okay, so this is the bag of stuff that is part of the compulsory kit check. This is my extras that you carry because kit check is just the bare minimum to keep you safe.
The sheer amount of equipment needed to compete in the gruelling spine race shows just how difficult a task lays ahead for competitors like Mel.
You've signed up for a race called Britain's Most Brutal. It's held in January in the darkest, coldest time of the year. They call them spine conditions, or they say it's particularly spiny. So you kind of get what you paid for it when the weather's like this. It doesn't feel very spiny and everybody feels that they haven't got their money's worth when the weather's nice.
Storm Gerretti may have passed, but it was still pretty spiny on Marsden Moor for Mel to take part in a last warm-up before taking on this weekend's 108-mile challenge along the Pennine Way. But compared to other days of her punishing hill-running training regime, this is a piece of Kendal mint cake.
You've got to go out in the dark, in the cold, in the wet, in Storm Claudia. You just push yourself to kind of be prepared for everything Mother Nature can throw at you. So physically, you go out and you've got to put in the hours, but mentally you also have to kind of know how you handle yourself when the weather turns.
Competing alongside Mel will be her husband and fellow Home Valley Mountain Rescue volunteer, John. As well as finding John, Mel also found 2 extended families in the team and in the spine race community, both helping her to cope with the tragic loss of her first husband, Rob, who died on a scuba diving holiday just 2 days after Mel's 40th birthday.
Rob was a very experienced scuba diver, but on this particular day, a lot of things went wrong. And he drowned, and obviously he's not here anymore. I shouldn't really be here either, but it was his day to go and not mine. So something like that gives you one heck of a shake-up in terms of how you value things and how you kind of take things forward in life.
And taking things forward for Mel means testing herself in some of Britain's most beautiful but brutal landscapes. Fraser Maud, ITV News, on Marsden Moor.
Wow, that's certainly some feat she's taking on there, isn't it? And we wish her all the very best with that. Well,
absolutely.
Talking of runners, this one needed a police escort as it swanned around in Leeds this afternoon. Who writes this stuff? This one got its very own police outrider, together with blue lights, as it waddled without a care in the world down High Ash Avenue in Alwoodley this afternoon. Eventually, the swan was taken to safety by a member of Yorkshire Swan and Wildlife Rescue.
I love people just standing there watching, thinking, what on earth is going on? What is happening here?
Oh, it could take your arm off, you know. That's why it needs a police escort. Dangerous
right?
things, yeah, didn't you know? Yeah, and they all belong to the king. No, they're all a litany of facts about swans. I don't know if any of it's true. I might be making it all up.
Nice weather for swans anyway. Is it nice weather for you? Here's Nick Miller.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, whether it was snow, a cold rain or just a few showers, there were lots of outcomes from Storm Gerretti. Most of the snow into the South Pennines and into the Peak District, as we know. And this is how it played out. This is 24 hours ago. It was just starting to move in. That's the northern limit of the snow. Pulling away, it's dragged in some showers towards coastal areas, increasingly of rain, sleet and hill snow through the night tonight. Gerretti then moving away. The strong winds along the coast are going to be easing. Reasonably quiet, although cold, to start the weekend. And then into the cold air by Sunday. More wet weather preceded by snow, and perhaps not just into the hills, more widely for a time before turning over to rain, because that system will bring milder air our way. We're in the cold at the moment. This is the same period on the air mass chart, and notice the warmer colour starting to move in on Sunday. By Monday morning, we'll all notice a much milder feel to things. But it is still cold out and about through the night and into the morning. These showers coming in from the east, delivering some sleet and snow to higher ground, adding to the ice risk. A Met Office yellow warning for ice and a widespread frost out there as well. So a cold, icy start to the weekend. Still some showers, particularly across eastern parts, delivering a bit of sleet and snow to the higher ground, though most will be dry. A bit of hazy brightness around and temperatures barely above freezing. And it's into that cold air overnight and into Sunday. We bring this next weather system. A weather warning for snow into the Pennines, but we could all more widely see a bit of snow moving through for a time. Ahead of that turning over to rain, ahead of the milder weather starting to move in, and look at the jump in temperatures into the start of next week.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yeah, thanks so much to Nick for a sterling job this week.
Roll on Monday, I say. Those double-digit figures look a bit nicer than this cold and ice, don't they?
They do, yes. Take care in the snow.
Absolutely. That's it from us for now, though. I'm back at 10:30 with the late news. Join me then if you can. Charlene is next. But from both of us, have a good weekend. I'll see you later.
Have a good weekend. Thanks for watching. Good night.